Recording stopped.
Welcome to the Mental Health Boot Camp podcast. This is the podcast where 4 psychotherapists, 3 of us Canadian, 1 of us American, serve you cutting-edge mental health knowledge. I am Dr. Ryan Howes, a psychologist from Pasadena, California.
I'm Dr. Brooke Lewis, a registered clinical counselor from the Greater Vancouver area.
And I'm Joanna Boyd, a psychotherapist from Port Moody.
I'm Chris Boyd, psychotherapist from Coquitlam.
Hello, welcome back, everybody.
Woo!
3 weeks.
It's been a while.
Whew.
3 weeks off. There's so much to talk about, so much ground to cover here.
I'm sure a lot of people miss us and have just been waiting and
Sure, wondering what's going on. Maybe, Is it okay if I do a little spiel about how we work, actually? Can I banter about that?
Hit it.
Yeah, so just if any listeners are curious or wondering how that happens or why that happens, some podcasts spend some time together and they record all of their podcasts at one time, and then they get edited and then they do a release. So kind of like a TV series, and then they're out, or they might release them weekly. We actually record these live on Thursday nights, and then Ryan posts them on Friday mornings. So they're unedited and it's just us. So you kind of, it's pretty close to actually real time for our podcasts. And so it's a little bit different. So what we realized is this was a really, really big commitment to do it every single week. So now we chatted about it. And if there's something going on with someone, if there's a birthday that's happening or a special event, then we're just going to take that week off. So we will try to keep it consistent, but there might be the occasional gap week.
Yeah. And just so happens this time we had a couple gap weeks, a couple things came up. And so we took those weeks off and we're back in action.
Yeah, it's a good lesson in self-care. Remember that full circle episode 1, self-care and boundaries. And I don't know if we actually talked about boundaries, but we talked about self-care. Yeah.
We certainly did talk about self-care. We've touched on boundaries several times, but we'll make a full episode on that sometime, I'm sure.
Did we have it? Anyway, yeah.
Well, anything up? Any new news, Chris?
I don't think so, Ryan.
Okay.
Oh, I mean,
well,
yes, there's one thing. Our mental health boot camp program is officially offline.
Whoa.
Can you explain what that means for people who are just listening for the first time ever?
Sure. So the 4 of us created a online program called the Mental Health Boot Camp, hence, Mental Health Boot Camp podcast. It was a 25-day program, and we decided to take it offline just to revamp it. Also, it coincides with our head tech guy is transitioning on as well. So, we wish him well, Sergey. He's part of a startup that is monopolizing his time, but he's been so generous with his expertise with us. So, and then our program needs a big revamp as well. So we need to rethink things and go through the material again. So we're not quite sure what we're going to do next with that, but stay tuned. So end of an era. I think it's been 4 years, 5 years since we launched the boot camp.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know. It's been 2 years of pandemic. Probably.
I think it was January 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
4 years.
Or 20, I don't know.
I think we started creating it 5 years ago after we met up at the networker
symposium, yeah.
And then we spent, most of that year just putting together the whole boot camp, and then launched it. I flew up to Vancouver and we launched it that one day in January, which was awesome.
Yeah. So I think I can speak for all of us that we want to find creative ways to get the information out there. So there's so many great tidbits of information, practical strategies from the fields of psychology and other related health disciplines. So we'll come up with either revamp this and relaunch it as is, or we'll come find another method to get the information out there.
Absolutely. If we have any idea people, creative people out there who are like just chomping at the bit there, want to share their idea for how we can spread mental health knowledge, let us know. info@mentalhealthbootcamp.com. Actually, is that
Not anymore? No.
not anymore?
Not sure if that address is working anymore. So I guess through Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe a tweet to
I'd have
Dr.
to
Ryan
crash Twitter.
Howes.
I don't-
Yeah,
I think that our Facebook page would have to go away too. So we're figuring this out. But yeah, that'll be dissolved as well.
Instagram, though, we have a lot of good info on Instagram. So maybe we'll keep that one. We'll turn that into the podcast one. We have a lot to figure out. I guess
We
we
do.
should probably talk about this when we're not recording our conversation.
Real time, as Brooke said. We're doing it in real time.
we are.
Well,
And,
that's
late at night, real time.
That's right. That's right. Well, it was a blast to put the Mental Health Bootcamp together, and I definitely believe in all the material we've got there. A lot of stuff that we have covered on this podcast is material right from the bootcamp itself.
Mhm.
So we just kind of get to expand on it a little bit here, but yep, I hope we can get that into people's hands one way or another. So we'll see. But thank you, Sergey, and the boot camp itself for giving us a lot of fun and creative ways to spread the news for a while. So, having said that, we've taken some weeks off. Our brains are nice and fresh. We can dive into some new material here. As the typical case for us, one of us knows what the topic is, the other three of us do not. So we're going to be ambushed here in real time. So, Chris, if you're ready, you ready to send along today's topic?
Here it comes. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Boop.
Coming right across the border. Here it is. Okay. Here's what Chris has to say. Where does the time go? I had so many things to do today, including thinking of a topic for the ambush, but wasn't able to achieve everything I set out to do. So let's talk about time management. When can it become an issue? And what can I do to improve it? Time management. Oof.
That's just as exciting as ethics.
Ethics was super exciting, Brooke. What are you talking about?
I'm hoping the same for tonight then.
Back on week 15, had to go back and look because this is like our 81st episode. We talk about procrastination, but I feel, based on the conversations I have with maybe members of my family or friends and clients, that time management can become a bit of an issue. So I thought it might be good to kind of delve into it, as Joanna was subtly pointing to herself.
Yeah. Yep. Said family member. I relate.
Yeah. I was actually talking about Jeff, but
Oh,
sure.
that's fair.
Yeah. So super exciting.
It's totally exciting. Time management gets me jumping out of bed in the morning. Let's do some time management. No, it's important though. It is a mental health skill because with so much to do and so little time to do it for so many people, it is a challenge. And this is where so much of our stress comes from. Is the difficulties with time management. So I think if you can learn how to manage your time, I think you can significantly decrease your stress. So worthwhile
Yeah.
topic, Chris.
Totally.
So Joanna's already let the cat out of the bag that she's not very good at time management. Ryan, Chris, do you think that you're pretty good at it? Or like personally, do you feel that you've honed that skill, or do you struggle a bit?
I think I do pretty well with time management. up to a point. When the schedule gets super full, when I have just way too many things on my plate, I can drop the ball, and kind of free. I get into the paralysis part, right? Where like I've got 8 things I need to do, and I got to start somewhere, but I'm not sure where to start or what my priorities need to be. So I can do nothing for periods of time, which just makes the problem worse, right? And then I beat myself up for that and all of that. So most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, I'm pretty good with time management. But once it gets to the overload, when I start to overheat there a little bit, I kind of freeze.
Yeah, kind of similar to me too. Like I enjoy having a jam-packed day. I think I thrive, I think, by having too many things to do than too little things to do. If there's too little things to do, I think I lose motivation to do much of anything. But it's such a fine balance because, yeah, if I do feel overwhelmed, then kind of similar to Ryan, I start to forget things or things fall through the cracks. Or you just feel yourself kind of stressed out a bit. So yeah, that has definitely happened periodically over the past week, maybe. Yeah, so becoming pretty good at starting to recognize those cues.
Absolutely.
How about you, Brooke?
I think I'm pretty good overall, but same, like sometimes maybe I get a little overconfident in my time management, and then the things that I need to do are slightly more than my capacity to do them. And then when that happens, then another thing gets added, and then it gets further away. And then there becomes this moment of like I get flustered or irritated or stressed out, where I get like, I get more rigid, and then I say, hey, you know what? No, I can't do anything else because I need to get this list done. And I fall into this pattern. So I definitely come from a family of, I think for time management for me comes with sacrifice. I pair it together, where for you to get the things done that you need to get done, you have to sacrifice other things. So you're going to sacrifice self-care or socialization or fun or whatever, because you have these things that you need to get done, that you need to prioritize. So it's been in the past, I would say, evolution of the past 5, 6, 10 years of noticing when that stress hits, and then saying, no, in this moment, I actually have to prioritize the opposite. I need to prioritize checking out and going for a walk and clearing your mind, so that when you go back to the work, that you can like get it done more efficiently, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I feel like typically I'm pretty good with it. And then I get a little flustered, say, no, I need to do these things.
Yeah. Do you ever find that like from a social or cultural perspective, there's pressure on people to be busy, and the whole idea of busyness, do as much as you can?
Yep.
I think it is. I don't know if I heard someone say this, or I'm not sure, but it's something like busyness is the most socially acceptable character flaw.
I like that.
It's like, that's one thing where people kind of wear that as a badge almost. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm admitting to I've overstuffed my calendar, or I don't have, my boundaries aren't so great in some areas, or whatever that might be. But you can still kind of wear it as like, but I'm so busy. And it elicits a little bit of sympathy sometimes for people. Oh, you're so busy. But I think people kind of take pride in being the busy one a lot of times.
Yeah, what's interesting is I think of it as different. Like, to be busy is different than being productive. Interestingly enough, like I would rather be productive than be busy. So sure, I'm getting things done. I don't like to be bored. I don't really like to sit idle. So I'm going to find things to do, whether it's chores or work things or visiting things or going for a walk, or like engaged. I'm engaged in things. I'm productive in things, but I don't like to be busy. That's where I feel the stress comes in, which is, yeah. Also interesting, I was looking for a client for some residential treatment for alcohol addiction. And I came across one of our treatment centers here. I forget which one it was now, but they had treatment for, like, if it was alcohol related or process addiction. And when under process addiction, they had work as one of them.
Mhm.
So whether that was internet use or food, but there was also like work addiction was listed
What,
as a
what,
process addiction. So a kind of an addiction to the busyness.
what else would be listed? I haven't ever heard that term, process,
Yeah.
as we would say, process, as you would say, process addiction. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it was a newer way as well. When I read it, I'm like, I'm curious what they are going to list under here, but it was more like behavioral addiction,
Oh,
essentially.
okay. Sure. So someone might have internet or shopping or porn or something like that, and
Yeah,
busyness.
gaming,
Mhm.
work. Yeah,
Okay. Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Which
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool though, that because we work a little differently. So our addiction centers are typically just for substances, alcohol or drugs. And so for this one to be offering services for behavioral addiction I thought that was great. And extra mile for them to say, acknowledge that, to say, hey, sometimes work is an addiction for people.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's
So-
interesting concept for sure. So I wonder
Mm.
how do you determine whether it's an addiction or problematic versus, balanced or healthy, right? Because we've talked here on the Mental Health Bootcamp podcast about the importance of engagement and balance and working hard and sense of mastery and achievement and accomplishment and structure and focus. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, maybe that'll be my topic next time. Maybe
Hmm.
not. We'll kind of.
I mean, I know we're.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, like Brooke brings up a good point about busyness versus productivity. And so I
Mm.
guess when you're talking about time management, Chris, or whoever, just are we talking about how to manage your time to get things done? Are we talking about managing your time in order to just take care of yourself the best you can? Like, yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really good point. Because busyness does not equate productivity. I can attest to that. And also, yeah, so I just think it's good to maybe, what's good time management, I guess? Can we paint that picture? And are there different goals and stuff?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's a few different ways to look at it. And yeah, again, we thrive off of balance and we want to have a healthy routine. So we've talked about different components of that. It could be sleep and nutrition, and exercise and connection and focus time, which could be work or school. Downtime is important as well. Hobbies or interests or play. So if it's skewed in one direction, then that can be unhealthy because it can lead to stress or burnout and whatnot, or create other issues. So I feel if it's unbalanced in some kind of way, right? Or a sign of that would be you have the intention to accomplish various things, you're not able to do it, so maybe putting too much on your plate. Or maybe too little. Like if you have the intention to do something but you're not doing it, I think that could be a sign of time management.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So lots of things to think about, or lots of different aspects.
Sure. Let's see. Time management. I'm going to boil down what you were saying there, Chris. Time management or healthy time management is the ability to allocate time and effort into the tasks and priorities of your life that result in positive mental health, something like that, right?
Oh, that's good, right?
So is Brooke going to boil down that explanation to
Something like, no, I don't think I really have much. I'm just thinking, part of my brain is thinking about, trying to find the balance of doing the things that you need to do and the things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm. So I just cheated here and I just Google it quickly. So according to Wikipedia, very
Oh,
trusted, time management is the process of planning and exercising conscious control of time spent on specific activities, especially to increase effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity.
I think it's used most. I think the term's most used when you think about productivity. Like if we have clients who are struggling with getting things done, we usually talk about time management. I don't know. I don't like when we talk about self-care and balance, and there's obviously different types of self-care and things like that. We talk about having to shift things in order to make time for that. But I just feel like the most times I use time management would be when they're trying to productivity. I don't know.
To be productive. Yeah. So if you're not, if you don't have good time management, then productivity is how you tend to measure that, is what you're kind of saying.
Yeah, I guess I just I just think we talk about time management most when there's this, I'm not getting enough my homework done, or I'm procrastinating, or I find I'm too busy and I need to balance things out that way, maybe.
Or wasting time. So being caught up
Wasting.
watching a Netflix show and not getting your homework done or whatever that might be. Okay. So many layers to this, eh?
yes.
An exciting topic.
Riveting.
Okay, so to get what, I guess we'll go to the dark side first and say, what are the challenges for time management? What makes it difficult, do you think, for people to achieve this balance we're talking about? What are the speed bumps to productivity?
Social media.
Oh, wow. I was thinking something more internal of like the tasks that maybe need to get done are unenjoyable. Like it's like an internal sense, right? Like there's something that you don't really want to do, you don't like doing, you maybe don't feel confident in doing it, or you're bored, there's a sense of boredom, or it's really challenging, or there's a sense of dread to doing it. So then you don't want to do it for the need to get done things.
I think mental health, if someone's going through some, depression or anxiety, or if things are stressful or just life stresses, could be impacting their ability to manage time well. Resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Life circumstance. Maybe the person struggling with time management legitimately has, 20 different responsibilities in the day. Like if it's a single parent and multiple children with multiple, especially during COVID, drop-off times, pickup times were staggered. Plus keeping up with homework and working from home and running a household. And how are you to juggle all of those things sometimes, right?
Do you think some, like the type A, type B personalities, do you think there's something to that in terms of people who are able to, I don't know, what qualities does a person have or abilities in terms of being able to manage time better? But maybe I'm skipping. We can stay to the dark side, Ryan. I'm skipping ahead. I just think like, I don't know. It sounds silly to say, but yeah, I don't know. I just, I have people I know who really like spreadsheets and are able to really get through things that way. And yeah, well, Brooke, I know for your, like, it's great. Like
I just sent
Brooke
you
just introduced one
today.
Yeah. And it's when I have a few friends who also like to do it, and they're really able, they have plans and goals and how they're going to do it. And they use their time so well. And and then there's individuals like myself who I don't. And it takes me a while to get things done. And it's like, it's just not easy for me.
But why, Joe? Why?
Oh,
Before
man.
we get into all the great things to fix it.
Yeah.
Or maybe is it, I was just thinking habits as well. Like
Mhm.
sometimes you grow up and don't establish the best time management habits for a number of different reasons. So your go-to way of reacting in that situation where you need to get things done would be to procrastinate or distract yourself or do other things. That kind of popped in my mind too. Ron, I think you had your hand up there.
I've got so much to say. This is such a great topic.
Oh, okay.
as far as dark side stuff, I mean, we touched on some of the mental health things, but certainly some folks who have some processing issues or like attention issues. People with ADHD will have more of a challenge with managing time, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, just because it's difficult to kind of focus that attention sometimes. There's so much going on, it can be difficult to focus. And certainly other conditions. Depressed folks are going to have a hard time managing just because it all seems so overwhelming. Anxiety can send people in a bunch of different directions. So there's certainly the mental health components to this. Another dark side thing would be just someone who had time management requires boundaries, requires someone to be able to say no to things and to say, oh, you want me to do this? Well, I can't do that right now. I need to focus on my stuff, and to be able to really assert themselves and say, nope, can't do it. I have my schedule for the day. Your needs are going to have to come second. And that's can be really difficult for people who are, wanting to please, or maybe it's a loved one and you don't want to upset them. So those are my dark side points. Do we have any more of those? Because I have something to say about Joe's point too.
Nothing comes to mind for me. Any other dark sides? What might be a barrier to good time management?
Yeah, just I guess run the poor boundaries or overcommitment, I guess, or being a people pleaser. So it all kind of fits into that category. It's a really good point there, Ryan.
Sure. So Joe's point of like, just some people just seem to be more the spreadsheet people and some people are not so much that way. It's interesting. There are many different personality type tests out there. Myers-Briggs is one that a lot of people have taken. Another one is called the Big Five, or the 5-factor personality inventory, and it's 5 different traits where you rank either low or high on either one of these. And some people use the acronym OCEAN because that's what that spells out. O being openness, C being conscientiousness, E is extroversion, A is agreeableness, and N is neuroticism or emotional stability. And the C one is the one that we're talking about here, conscientiousness. People who are highly conscientious are very focused on detail and the spreadsheet, and really oftentimes don't have a problem with time management because they've got it all kind of dialed in. People who are lower on conscientiousness, often people refer to that as like a free spirit, like, hey, whatever, go with the flow, let's see what happens today. And oftentimes, some things can kind of catch, some of the obligations of life can kind of catch up with them because they're like, hey, I'm just hanging out, having a good time. But so that particular personality trait of conscientiousness tends to be the one that might be a little more problematic when it comes to the time management issue. So that's what that personality test would say, Joe.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good point. So personality traits or ingrained habits or patterns there. We don't have to get too deep into why someone might have that trait more than someone else, but usually a combination of biology as well as probably a lot of it is experiences though, right?
I would think that it's a good mix. So I'm just thinking I'm very high on those types of traits, detail oriented and conscientious, and but one of my parents and both of my siblings are not.
Yeah.
So so there would be like a common environment, not saying that my siblings and I grew up with the exact same experiences in life, definitely probably different, right? But there would be similarities there. But I do think that there's certain traits that come through for different reasons or imprint differently or whatnot. Yeah. And it would be very hard for them to learn those traits, like shift, if I were to think about them. And it would be very hard for me to decode myself to be more like them.
But it's possible though, right? Through the science of neuroplasticity to change those habits. And
yeah, absolutely.
just very difficult. Yeah, it takes a lot of awareness and persistence and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah. So there's hope, Joe. There's hope.
Thanks. Hooray. Just
Definitely
gotta
hope.
do the work. Yeah.
A couple other things pop into my mind is even just doing some goal setting. I know some people are more do that more naturally and that's part of their routine already, but I think it's a healthy thing that anyone can do, right?
Mhm. Goal setting is a great idea.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite goal setting tips that have come across my plate or my screen, I don't know where this tip came from, but it was the last thing on your to-do list is really great to put down. Do 80% of the to-do list. So you actually write that at the very bottom so that the pressure is off, right? Like you have your big list and your goal is actually only to complete 80% of it. And that just helps take the pressure off. So you can get the ball rolling, you can do the task that you like, and you're not going to get everything done, and that's okay. You don't have to get everything done on your to-do list.
Is that as long as someone's not doing their list in sequential order?
Yeah. So if it's just kind of a brain dump of like, here are all the things I need to do today, and the last part is do 80% of my list.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I think it's good. I have a to-do list. And I think it's very beneficial practice. Everything goes on there. Yeah,
I have
easy
my
things, difficult things, but scratch
Mhm.
something off that list, right? Sometimes I put a few easy ones on, like get up and have a shower or whatever that might be, or check emails. I'm gonna do that anyway, but it's just nice to scratching things off, get that momentum. But I guess goal setting and creating a list is a good thing, but prioritization, I guess Joanna was kind of alluded to, right?
Does anyone else do this? When I make a to-do list, and I make a lot, this book is full of to-do lists, right? I always make a little box and then I write the item down because I like to check that box. Sounds like you scratch your items off, Chris, but I just check.
I'm a scratcher. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a scratcher too.
One thing for lists for people would be, I don't know, it sounds like everyone has ideas in terms of different approaches, but I heard somewhere at a workshop, and I usually try to tell clients is picking, like, if they start their morning and they kind of different ways to start your morning, but you do a bit of a brain dump and then you can like get whatever is out there on paper. But then if you have a few things that you need to do, just have what's your big one? What's one thing you need to do? Just pick one, and then everything else will be bonus. So because it's so easy for people who make lists, and not everyone, obviously. And I think that's where the 80% thing is good, Brooke, is that they say, well, look what I did not do, right? It's so easy to be like, I did not complete it. I did not. And so I try to be like, just the one thing, if it's cleaning out that drawer, if it's going to be going to drop off, run an errand, and then everything else is bonus. So get through that one and then you're good. And then, so it just helps it's all about frame of mind, I guess. But
You bring up a good point too, though, is, clean out that drawer versus clean the whole kitchen on a busy day. Like, so I think the goals that you're creating for yourself need to be realistic, right? And sizable, broken down into sizable chunks. I created two to-do lists. On Friday, I say zero out my week. So I go back and see the things I haven't completed. And if I can get it done on Friday, it's kind of a catch-up day for myself. That's great. If not, then I goes to Monday. Because not on the weekend for a lot of the things, because I need to focus on other things. So, but it's still recorded, scratched off from that week, and it's carried on. I love scratching things off. That's why.
I really miss whiteboards for that reason. I used to have a giant whiteboard in my office, like my home space where I would study. And then you got to actually erase it. Oh, that was good. I should get another whiteboard. Whew.
I think they sell them, Brooke. I think you can purchase one.
Do you guys all, like, as I talk about it, can you smell the fumes of the marker?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You ever put a permanent marker on a whiteboard, Brooke? And never had the satisfaction of
I did.
dry erasing it?
I did, but the clencher here was I was actually like in my early 20s doing stress management workshops in schools. You can see where this is going. And part of it is putting like your name and then the contact number or whatever. So you put that on the whiteboard. And yeah, so the marker she gave me was a permanent marker. So my name and like the phone number attached to me at the time was like permanently on the whiteboard for this class.
Funny.
Just right in the middle too, probably.
No, it was nice in the top
Oh,
corner.
okay.
Oh yeah, as if it were, I'm not going to put it in the middle. That's just wild.
Yeah, no, that's
So
Not an
maybe,
animal.
you're not a monster.
so maybe the teacher thought that her class really needed some mental health support. So she really wanted that name and
Yeah.
number to stick around.
Yeah, so you can get rid of it, we found out, by using a dry erase marker, apparently. I think don't try it at home, but you put the dry erase marker over top, like scribble over it, and then it'll erase off. I think that's what they did.
Interesting.
Mental
Again, I could be very wrong. You heard this on the internet.
Mm.
Don't trust the internet.
I was going to say about the to-do list. I forgot.
should have
Go ahead,
written it
Chris.
down. Should have written it down.
I should have.
When it pops into your mind, let us know. But the other time management technique I can think of is delegation, if it's possible. Oh, do you think your thing?
I did, but your delegation point is a good one. Go with that.
If it's possible and appropriate, then delegation is a very powerful tool. Some reasons why some people utilize that and some don't. I think there's a lot of factors that play into it. But because some people have a hard time asking others or requesting that help from others, so they put the burden on themselves to do it all, and that can be obviously very problematic.
Yes. So one thing that I realized because I do when I'm busy, I'll do a daily to-do list, and I'll do what you were talking about, Chris. I'll like carry over the items that weren't completed from previous days and kind of start my list with that. And what I've started recognizing in the last few years of doing this is there's some of these items that just get carried over. And I've started to stop and ask myself, okay, is this something I actually want to do? Right? If I'm not taking the time to do this, and it's something that's a want instead of a need, right? Like if it's do my taxes, okay, I got to do that. I don't have a choice there. But if it's, go buy a shirt somewhere, or, make sure if there's something that's on the list that's a want, and I keep telling myself, oh, I should, either it's a should, or it's just maybe an old habit that I've been in that I just don't really want anymore. Sometimes it's a good place to kind of take stock and reassess, like, is this something I really want to do? Because if I'm not making the time to do it, then maybe I can cut it from my life. That's a great way to time manage.
It's true. Ryan, wouldn't you have to kind of assess it though and say, my reluctance to do this, is it based on anxiety or fear?
Yeah.
Or is there logical mind making that determination, or is there emotional mind, right? Because I had a client today and he was talking about trying to put some time into finding a job, and he keeps on putting it off, and he has time to do other things. But I think it's some underlying fear that we tapped into, why he's reluctant to do so, right?
So it sounds like for Ryan, he's looking at when he's not doing the maybe wants or the shoulds. And then there's individuals who might be putting off important things like paying bills or taxes or job interviews. And there's obviously some maybe underlying stuff there to check in with yourself to be like, I've just been avoiding this, or it's not getting done. What's happening here for me? Or maybe I need to ask for help.
I think that's you're right, Chris. I think that is a part of the evaluation, and you're right, Joe. Sometimes that is, but I just think it's important to take a look at what are those undone things and why are they not done.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah,
Totally.
for sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
I often have kind of a running to-do list on my computer screen here of like articles I'd like to write for various outlets. Like I always think of something and say, oh, I should write something about this. And then I kind of start it and make a document and then just kind of leave it there on my desktop. And some of them have been sitting there for years. And every once in a while I go back and say, do I really want to write that article? Because
Or is this even relevant anymore?
Yes, exactly. Wow, why fidget spinners are the new thing? I mean, no, that's
the benefits of using a pager,
Yes. I missed the boat on that one. So yes, one of the best ways to really clear out that to-do list is to really see if it's even something that you want or need to do.
No,
Yeah.
great point.
Which then goes into a little bit of like a values inventory. Like,
Mm,
what do I value in my life, and does it fall into those top categories? You only have 168 hours in a week, and hopefully you're sleeping for 8 hours a day. So that's going to take a chunk. And then you have work, which is going to take a chunk. And outside of that, like really, sometimes we have to evaluate, what do I value, and is my list in line with that? Right.
yeah, good point. Yeah. And you're not the exception to that compassion. It's a phrase like we've said before. So often we're very much focused on the needs of others, but you got to make sure you're practicing that self-care too, right?
Yeah.
Self-compassion. So often that gets pushed on the back burner, gets carried over from week to week.
Mhm.
Yes.
Another piece to time management, I think, just trying to reflect on what I do to manage time, and I don't know if you guys would agree with this, but I think there's a huge element of futuristic thinking involved in it. Like I'm just thinking there's going to be a family trip next week, and there's going to be a division of meals and these different things. So I started thinking about it a week ago of what are the meals going to be? What do I need to bring? Because I'm going to work 3 days prior to the trip, so I won't be able to go to Costco, because you know how much I love Costco, which means I need to go to Costco this Sunday, which means I need to know what I need to buy before Sunday. So how long is it going to take for everyone to get back to me? Okay, so now we're during the week. Like, so there's this whole futuristic thinking opposed to the last minute, what do I need to do? I don't, do you guys think that that would play into it as well?
Are you saying that future thinking like takes you out of like it?
It
that-
helps me with time management.
Oh,
because-
thinking ahead. Okay, yeah, sure. Planning
Yeah,
ahead.
because then the things that are on my list today are actually helping me plan for something that's 10 days from now.
Yeah, it's just time management for not just the current day, but for, yeah, you're planning ahead.
Mhm.
I think that would be a part of it for sure.
Joanna,
Yeah.
do you experience that type? Because so if we're opposites, if I'm super time managing and you struggle a bit, like, is that something that comes up for you where like you're thinking, okay, I need to get this done today because
Yep.
tomorrow I need to do this piece and that piece and forward, forward, forward?
Yeah. And I think it depends what area of my life, but no, for sure. I definitely think ahead and like, oh, this is when this needs to be done by, or this is what I have to do in order to get that, for sure.
Okay.
And it's whether it gets done or not is a different thing, but I could put all the intentions out there and the planning for it.
Which goes back to the maybe more procrastination stuff,
Yeah.
opposed to time management stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So often these
Yeah.
tasks that we have can be chunked down, right?
Mhm.
So for something to be accomplished on time to meet the deadline, you probably need to actually start that task well before in a smaller chunking system.
Or become super stressful or a crisis.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking back to even college days where, you're scrambling to get things done and you need information and you're stressed out about it. And I remember mom told me one time I needed her to help proofread something. And she's like, your lack of planning is not my crisis, right? And she was away somewhere and I needed her to have a look at something like that, right? So a
Mhm.
good reminder that, okay, well, you shouldn't be asking someone to proof things a day before it's due or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
So a sign, it gets back to the dark side, a sign that maybe things are not really going so well.
That is true. Yeah, if you're scrambling last minute all the time, that can be a challenge.
And if you're affecting other people,
Yeah.
like if you're like that was affecting mom on her trip,
Yeah.
right? Or if you're inconveniencing others, or
For sure.
sorry,
I think
Ryan.
no, that's all right. I was just thinking aloud here. I think that some of my time management skills were learned because of adverse experiences with poor time management, right? Like I learned to pay my bills immediately because I had plenty of experiences in my 20s of having overdue bills and then fees that go along with that. So now I just pay a bill as soon as I get it, typically. I now get to the airport really early because I've missed flights in the past, and I've had that frantic rush, hurtling through the airport to try to make the flight, and I hate that. I just hate it. So some of the stuff is really, it's learned behavior of like, okay, life is better. My stress levels are lower if I could just think ahead, plan ahead a little bit, anticipate what the future might look like. Also anticipate maybe a few things not going exactly as planned. If I know it takes me 30 minutes to get ready to go somewhere, I'm going to go ahead and throw a 15-minute buffer on there just in case.
Yeah.
Because always something comes up, right?
True. Yeah. Yeah. No, I was just kind of laughing a little bit. I've had moments like that too, just popping in my mind. Go home after working hard or in school, and you turn on the light switch and the power's cut off. Like, damn it, I forgot to pay that darn power bill again. Then you get to lie there because it usually takes a day or so for them to reconnect it, or at least 6 hours. You have to lie there with no power and reflect on life. Like, I really got to figure this out. Yeah, as you track down the flashlight and light a candle, and you
yes, learning
experiences.
The hard way.
It's funny.
Absolutely.
And you want to go on your phone, but you can't charge it.
There's no Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hang out near the gas fireplace for warmth. It's kind of fun, actually.
I also think being the parent in this group, having kids does kind of force you to look ahead in a lot of ways. Like, okay, what are lunches going to be this week? And what, you're going to have this, like my kid's going to like a sleepaway kind of retreat thing this weekend. And so having to think about that on last Sunday, what do I need to make sure that I buy at the grocery store to pack for that? So just like you're planning with your family thing, Brooke. So yeah, there's some of that that's like, okay, got to do it. Got to think ahead, whether I like it or not. Or else I'll be running to the store at midnight tonight trying to collect everything for the trip, right?
Yeah. And then circling back to the points from earlier, then putting those boundaries, I'm sure other things could come up in your life that sound really fun. Like, hey, do you want to go for a hike or meet up with friends or do this thing? And it's saying, sorry, no, I need to go grocery shopping for lunches for my kids' camp or sleepaway.
Yeah.
And or no, I need to find those items and make sure they're washed and cleaned and ready to go, or pack these bags. And so sometimes we have to put those wants away to do the things that we need to do, right?
It's true.
So the concept, my clients bring it up actually really frequently. So I don't know what's out there right now, but just the term of like reparenting yourself. That seems to be a term that's coming up a lot in my counseling room, and not by me. So
Interesting. I never heard that term before.
yeah.
It's big when it comes to trauma. Like if there's like, well, I think it's just it's come up in my and by me, I guess. But if there's as a kid, if consistently you didn't really have your needs being met, or if it's kind of, and there might be younger parts of ourselves that need some healing, it's kind of being able to reparent yourself or give yourself the things that you weren't able to receive from a caregiver, like in terms of compassion or encouragement or getting through tough things. So
Cool.
And yeah, sometimes my clients use that in the frame of like putting that boundary or saying no to things they want to do to do the things they need to do, because doing the things they need to do is the actual self-care. Self-care isn't always going out and having fun. Self-care is literally taking care of yourself, right? So if they need to say no so they can go grocery shopping, then they're reparenting themselves, right? Learning those boundaries.
Best topic of 2022.
Because we've had 4 episodes and one was ethics.
Yeah, the odds are pretty good. Stacked in my favor.
I think it is a good topic, Chris. Anything else to add? Any other takeaways or anything here?
Are you paying attention to the time? Is that why? Get it? Time management? No?
Time management. I got it. Yes, managing the time.
I think the only other thing that popped in my mind is there are actually cultural differences when it comes to time management.
Yeah.
As therapists, we have to be very aware of that and sensitive to that, because what we think is the norm might not be the norm for someone else. So yeah, just throwing that out there.
That is important. So how do we become aware of cultural differences with time management? Just ask questions?
I think so. Like, obviously curiosity is important. And if someone is approaching their day a little differently than yours, or you know, I was talking to a client, he's South Asian, and he was talking about culture, or sometimes family members, well, it's natural just to show up super late for gatherings. Like, there's hard start times and they roll in there, and it's not a big issue. They don't understand why that would be an issue, right? So just having some sensitivity there and some understanding, and trying to find some middle ground, or have those conversations. I don't know, just
so true.
Yeah.
I've got a story of that culture, even within the United States, right? So I grew up in Oregon, and if someone said, "Hey, I'm having a party, it starts at 7," I'd show up at 7, and everyone else would show up at 7 too. And be like, "Okay, great, yeah, the party's starting. It's wonderful." When I moved down to California, I had a friend who was throwing a party. Let's say it started at 7, and I went over to his house at 7, and he was kind of walking out the door and locking the door. I was like, "Dude, what's going on? Isn't the party on?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to the store to pick up some stuff." I'm like, "But you said the party starts at 7." He's like, "Oh yeah, no, it'll be here until 7:45." So let's do it. We got in the car, we drove to the store, we bought stuff for the party, came back. Sure enough, 7:45, people started showing up. I was like, oh, that is a cultural difference. I was not aware of that. He was so confident in that he's just, lock the house. No one's going to show up. So part of those kind of social norms, I guess.
So
But yes.
Yeah, this is I have a client Canadian, who is married to a gal from Brazil. So she's immigrated here, and he was explaining that a little bit too, that there is a difference of like Brazil time. So apparently in the culture, they joke around about it. Like, so if you tell them, "Or are you going to be there at 5?" and they say, "Yeah, I'll be there at 5." You say, "Is that Canadian time or Brazil time?" And then they'll get a chuckle out of it, because they know Canadians will be there at 5, but Brazil time means just come whenever.
Yes.
No big deal.
Yes. Yeah. I had another friend where he would say, "I'm going to be gone for about an hour." And I learned, then he'd be gone for 3 hours. Or he'd say, "I'd be gone for a couple hours," and he'd be gone for 5. So I learned, okay, so for him, what I have to do, if he tells me he's going to be gone for this amount of time, as a roommate, and if I'm going to be gone for this amount of time, I have to add a half hour and then double it. And then I know exactly what time he's going to be back.
half an hour plus the double, eh?
Yes. Then I know when you'll be back. So yes, person to person, culture to culture. I think there are always differences there.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone wants to work on their own time management skills, you had one thing to tell them. What would you tell them? What would you tell a friend or a client or something? Or like, "Oh, I just need to work on my time management." What'd you say?
I would just say this, back to self-care. Like, you're not the exception to the compassion. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself throughout the day.
Make a list, prioritize, kind of move things around in terms of, priorities, and kind of assess that. Yeah.
Good one.
Be aware of how you're already spending your time.
Awareness.
I mean, we're going through the hours anyway. What are you doing with them? What's going on there? You're already spending the time, so maybe just be aware of what you're already doing. Might surprise people that they're already doing a lot, in which case maybe the issue isn't time management, but being overloaded.
Mhm.
You can really take a look at that.
That's great. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Bring us home, Ryan.
See something beautiful. Inspiring.
Time is flowing like a river. No,
Ooh.
I'll just say that yeah, I think we time is one of our biggest assets, right? It's one of our biggest. We have money in the bank. Maybe we have friends and relationships. Time is also one of our assets, and I think we want to be very mindful of it and very careful how we're using it. And I'll go back to my point of like, I think once in a while you need to kind of assess, do I really want to be using my time the way I'm using it? Do I want this in my life or not? Because maybe you're actually spending a lot of time on something that's sort of doesn't bring much value to your life. It's worth taking a look at that.
Yeah.
What a wonderful time we had here tonight. It was productive. It was useful. It was enjoyable. Wow. Good time, everybody. Great topic, Chris, really.
I know.
And speaking of your time, we're also reading a book for the book club called Cast.
Yep.
Caste.
I'm halfway through.
Are you?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, well done.
Isabel Wilkerson. Okay, so that's our book club book that will be coming in a few weeks. And I guess that's it for us tonight, everybody. So we will say farewell. Use your time wisely. Thank you for spending some time with us. And good night. Like and subscribe on Apple, Google, Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher,
and YouTube.
Find us on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. And
don't email us anything.
Don't email us through our old email address. And we'll say good night to everybody. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
If I could turn back time.